The anime begins with an accident. After witnessing his friend's death on the battlefield, the world's top strong, Rei, goes insane and bursts out ice magic, which power can almost cut off a mountain. Later, Rei leaves the frontline troops, hides his identity, and goes to study at the best magic academy on the continent. How will the powerful protagonist disguise himself as a weak and finally defeat the strong enemy? Like this video. Let's start today's recap. The magic academy that Rei attends only accepts noble children. Because Rei hides his identity, he is despised by other students as a commoner. Many aristocratic students think it humiliating to study with him, and one of the students, Albert, tries to use violence to drive Rei away. Luckily, Amelia, who comes from one of the 3 grand noble families, stops him. She doesn't care about Rei's family background. If it weren't for her, Albert may have been beaten to incontinence by Rei. After that, it is the entrance ceremony. The academy principal, Abby, delivers a speech, emphasizing the need for all students to dedicate themselves to rigorous training and become high-level sorcerers. As the representative of the freshmen, Amelia also gives a speech. Realizing he encounters a well-known figure on his first day at the academy, Rei is quite surprised. Amelia has a strong knowledge reserve. Through her speech, we can know the hierarchy of this world. The lowest to highest levels of sorcerers are bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and grand. The amount of sorcerers in the first 4 levels is large, while only 7 grand sorcerers exist per era. The identities of these 7 grand sorcerers are kept secret, except for Academy Principal Abby, and Carol, a grand sorcerer who is famous for her sexy body, as well as another grand sorcerer known for using an Iceblade. But no one would expect that the Iceblade sorcerer is the commoner Rei who is despised by them. Students in the class are actively learning magic theory, working towards the dream of becoming a grand sorcerer, but Albert has been thinking about how to drive away Rei. In contrast to him, Rei doesn't waste time on Albert. Instead, he focuses on mastering the magic theory. After class, he encounters a new classmate, the half-elven girl Elisa, who is often humiliated because of her elven ears. With Rei's encouragement, Elisa regains confidence and doesn't conceal her face in the hat anymore. Rei and his roommate Evie also become friends. Evie worships the strong but does not care about the difference between commoners and nobles, and he is keenly aware that Rei is the same. Besides these new friends in the academy, the principal Abby, whom everyone fears, is Rei's comrade who has fought alongside him. However, Rei only dares to meet Abby in private to hide his identity. Abby is usually very serious, but she will show her cute side to Rei, which will certainly shock students if there's any here. One day, a practice competition is held in the class. Rei confronts Albert, who intends to take the opportunity to beat up Rei. However, the crying person turns out to be Albert after the 2 rounds of fighting. His strength gap with Rei is like that between Saitama and King in One Punch Man. Albert's blade is shattered by Rei, and he falls to his knees in shock and despair. At night, there are constant gasps in Rei and Evie's room. Don't mistake them for a couple. These 2 men are just so hungry for strength that they maintain a high-intensity workout even late at night. With both talent and hard work, it's no wonder that Rei became one of the 7 grand sorcerers on the continent. As Rei settles into his new life in the academy, the motive behind his concealed identity gradually comes to light. He spent most of his past life constantly practicing and battling on the front lines. Just like Madun in Immoral Guild, Rei has been longing to experience normal school life. With his robust physique, he successfully joins a group of muscular men, and his good temper makes him a member of a girls' club led by Rebecca, the student council president. Rebecca is captivated by Rei's well-developed muscles and frequently asks permission to touch them. Consequently, both Amelia and Rebecca, hailing from the 3 grand noble families, befriend Rei. Rei thinks he can live this life away from strife until Abby secretly reveals to him that there are spies of the Empire hiding in the academy. A war in the dark seems to be approaching. A few days later, the school's annual practical exercise begins. Rei, Evie, Amelia, and Elisa are in a group. For Rei, this kind of drill is very easy, and the monsters are all eliminated by him in one move. But soon this calm is shattered. Albert's group is attacked by monsters, and Rei helps them kill the monsters, despite Albert's grudge against him. At this moment, a mysterious person hiding in the shadows casts magic on the deceased monster, which is then resurrected, with a more terrifying look. Rei takes the lead in fighting the formidable monster and notices its unusually sturdy shell. Just as he hesitates about revealing his full power to defeat the monster, his companions spring into action, giving him a surprise. Evie, Amelia, and Elisa take turns to cast spells and successfully restrain the monster, allowing Rei to find its vulnerability and kill it with a single strike. The mysterious person hides in the shadows and observes the scene silently, while Albert's envy towards Rei grows, completely forgetting the fact that Rei just saved him. In the end, Ray's team wins the actual combat drill. Many absent students mistake it for Amelia's credit. After all, the girl is much more famous in school than Ray. Besides, Ray is a commoner, and the noble students in the school wouldn't want a commoner to exceed them. Ray doesn't care what everyone else thinks, and after the practice, he goes to see his master, Lydia, who is the previous Iceblade sorcerer, but now she is seriously injured and can only sit in a wheelchair. The master-apprentice chats reveal two important pieces of information. One is that Ray seems to have some important hidden dangers in his body, which will indirectly affect his combat effectiveness. Another piece has to do with Lydia, who has been conducting research on the human brain, trying to decipher the relationship between magic and the human brain. Recently, she discovers an organization is also doing related research, but the members of the organization are so radical that they directly kidnap and kill magicians to do research, and they even try to recruit Lydia to join them. Lydia no longer has the combat power of her peak, and now she can only hope that Ray will be wary of this organization. While walking, Lydia takes out an elaborate magic manual from her clothes and gives it to Ray as a gift. Lydia is happy to see the change in Ray, who finally has some smiles on his face. Ray's transformation can be attributed to his classmates. Despite facing hostility from some due to his commoner status, Ray has managed to make many friends, like the kind-hearted Elisa and the newly acquainted aristocrat, Clarice. However, Amelia is still the most popular one among these companions. Thanks to these girls, Ray's life has evolved into leisurely activities like afternoon tea and shopping in addition to fighting. One day, Amelia asks Ray to go shopping for some new clothes with her. While trying some on in the fitting room, Amelia is frightened by a spider and throws herself into Ray's arms with just her underwear on. Amelia feels embarrassed and runs back to the fitting room, but her expression is both shy and expectant. Ray really has some luck. Back to school, he bumps into Rebecca, who is changing clothes. Afterward, Ray feels guilty and keeps apologizing to Rebecca, but each of his apologies reminds Rebecca of the embarrassing accident. Unconsciously, Rebecca has a deeper and deeper impression of Ray. Others please her because of her aristocratic background, but Ray has always remained sincere. Rebecca can't tell what kind of emotion she has for Ray. Similar to Rebecca, Amelia also holds a special place for Ray in her minds. However, her approach to building a connection with him differs. Lately, Amelia has been dedicated to her preparations for the upcoming Sorcerer tournament. As a result, she has found a unique way to engage with Ray, that is, dueling. After observing Ray's impressive combat prowess against monsters, Amelia has developed a desire to challenge him. Coincidentally, Ray is in need of decent opponents, leading to a heated showdown between him and Amelia. Amelia is indeed very strong, arguably the top combat power among the freshmen, and she forces Ray to show some real skills. At the decisive moment, Ray has some unknown accidents in his mind, which seem to be the hidden danger mentioned by Lydia. In the end, Ray lost the match. Of course, he knows what he showed was far from his true strength. The match makes Albert look down on Ray even more and asks him for a duel. Ray also wants these nobles to ease out, so he agrees to the duel. Albert acts quite strangely, yelling all the time, and is very feverish. A voice keeps ringing in his head, reminding Albert to kill Ray for the family's glory. Albert falls into a state of complete rage, but his frequent unleashes of magic are all dodged by Ray. Even Albert's powerful magic is cut by Ray's blade like a baseball. Just when everyone is still shocked by Ray's strength, Albert's fighting spirit is completely broken. Ray has shown his real strength, which is much stronger than most. He no longer wants to hide his identity from his friends, but just as Ray is about to formally introduce himself, all his classmates suddenly collapse and cannot move. Just then, a mysterious person appears in front of Ray. Surprisingly, it's Miss Gray, one of the Academy's teachers. Although appearing amiable at the Academy, she is actually a member of the evil organization Lydia spoke of, and she has been responsible for the missing of many students. Albert was also affected by Gray's magic, which explains his intense animosity towards Ray. When Albert and Ray were fighting, Gray had already laid out the enchantment around, and she would capture all the students here to do research. Ray's strength is undoubtedly above Gray's, but he cannot guarantee the safety of his classmates while fighting Gray. So Ray unleashes the power in his body, forming an ice wall to fend off Gray's attack on his friends. Meanwhile, 6 more ice blades appear around Ray out of nowhere. Gray is frightened to see this, unleashing all kinds of magic like crazy, which is easily defused by Ray. Gray's strongest magic is like a stone thrown by a child for Ray. Gray is soon defeated like Albert, and she knows that there is no hope of either escaping or winning the duel now. So Gray takes the risk to use all the research results so far on herself, instantly turning into a monster. However, Ray is constrained by the lingering effects of some past events, preventing him from unleashing his full strength. With Gray's newfound power from her transformation, Ray is compelled to engage in battle over his limits with blood oozing from his forehead. As the intense clash of two contrasting attributes magic, a dazzling light bursts out. In the end, Ray manages to seal Gray. After all, he possesses the top strength across the continent. However, with his energy overdrawn, Ray falls into a coma, and in a daze, Ray's consciousness seems to return to his childhood when his hometown was destroyed in the war. While Ray, saved by Lydia, was the only survivor. After that, Ray followed Lydia to meet some of the strongest sorcerers in the country, and with his outstanding talent, he was able to fight as a teenager. Unfortunately, no one plays the role of winner forever in war. After a battle where Ray witnessed his partners being killed and his master getting seriously injured, Lydia couldn't bear to have him stay in the army to keep fighting, and she hoped that Ray could live the life of most of his peers. Therefore, as her comrade Abby was transferred to the Magic Academy as the principal, she asked Abby to admit Ray as a student there. Upon waking, Ray learns his master's painstaking efforts from Abby for the first time. Encouraged by Lydia's wish, he resolves to make friends and reveals his experience to some of his closest classmates, including how he lost control over his mind and magical power, leading to significant casualties during the battle. Consequently, a portion of his power has been sealed to prevent a recurrence of the catastrophic incident. His friends are all very surprised after hearing Ray's story. No one had ever expected that he was the Iceblade sorcerer among the 7 grand sorcerers. The good news is that nobody distances him over his identity, and Amelia gives Ray a warm hug. Recovered from his injury, Ray returns to class and finds the teacher who replaces Miss Gray is his former comrade in arms, Carol. Carol's body is so hot that both boys and girls are attracted to her 2 huge weapons. Adolescents are particularly energetic in hormones, including the school belle, Amelia. When she takes a bath alone, her mind is full of Ray's heroic fighting. But the last time when Ray saw Amelia wearing only underwear, he was very calm, which makes Amelia can't help but untie the bath towel to see why her body failed to charm Ray. The ambiguous atmosphere between the teenagers is quickly interrupted by the upcoming Blade Sorcerer tournament. In addition to Ray's academy, 2 other magical academies will also join in the competition. Due to his role as the Iceblade Sorcerer, Ray will refrain from participation to maintain fairness. 2 students, Amelia and Albert, stand out in the selection match. Now Albert has escaped Gray's influence, and his relationship with Ray has eased. Ray can tell that Amelia is eager to win, so he privately trains Amelia. With the Grand Sorcerer as a tutor, Amelia's strength has been greatly improved, although the training process is so painful that Amelia has recently had nightmares, dreaming of her classmates around wearing exposed outfits to seduce her. Ray senses that Amelia is not in a good state, and in order to help her obtain information about her opponent, Ray disguises himself as a girl to get into the other 2 academies. Ray finds the favorite candidate for the championship of the tournament, Ariane, a girl who was once very good friends with Amelia before they grew estranged from each other as they had to fight for their families. Ariane is taken aback upon hearing Ray's masculine voice despite his feminine appearance. Her surprise deepens as Ray introduces himself as Amelia's friend, but she still accepts Ray's challenge, resulting in a swift conclusion as she effortlessly disarms him. With his seasoned fighting skills, Ray quickly realizes Ariane's formidable strength from the duel. As he prepares to return and commence special training for Amelia, he lends a helping hand to a girl on the verge of stumbling. The girl turns out to be Maria, Rebecca's sister. Intrigued by Ray's fake girly appearance, Maria decides to pursue enrollment in the Magic Academy in the future. Ray as a man has built a large harem, but now with girly look, he is still surprisingly attractive. After changing back to his boy form, Ray takes his classmates to visit his master Lydia, who seems to have become very playful since she was discharged from the army. Just after admiring Evie's pectorals, she is attracted by Elisa's bigger ones. Anyway, Lydia's adult jokes are just to break the ice, and she has an important task to complete this time, which is to help Amelia with psychological problems. The relationship between Amelia and Ariane is very complicated. They were once friends but now are opponents, not to mention that Amelia has lost to Ariane in a duel. But after all, Lydia has taught top sorcerers like Ray, and Amelia soon cheers up under her enlightenment. Soon on the day of the tournament, Albert achieves a very good result and makes the way to the cut, until he meets the strong opponent, Ariane. Facing her, Albert has a sense of despair like fighting with Ray. No matter how strong his attacks are, they all get blocked by Ariane. The huge gap in strength eventually allows Ariane to win the game. Meanwhile, a mysterious person is watching Ray in the shadows. In this unusual atmosphere, Ray encounters his senior, Rex. Luckily, Rex is not in a confrontational role. He guides Ray to meet Lydia and Abby. It turns out that Rex comes from a family dedicated to espionage work in the kingdom for generations. Additionally, Lydia's maid, Carla, is Rex's sister and also belongs to the family. Abby informs Ray that they've uncovered a plot to abduct noble children. Consequently, they assign Ray and Rex to collaborate in safeguarding the students. Most people are unaware of the approaching danger while enjoying the game in the arena. This year's tournament is a bit special, with several long-famous superiors and an unfamiliar face competing for the crown. The man is Lucas, who sets a match record by knocking out his opponent in just 2 seconds, and he makes a point of glancing at Ray when he exits. It seems his identity is not simple. At night, another popular candidate for the championship, Ariane, is still practicing. Her current super strength is not only affected by talent but also by the efforts she makes that surpass most ordinary people's. In contrast to Ariane, who is actively preparing for the competition, Amelia faces even more profound psychological challenges as the competition draws nearer. She is afraid of losing to Ariane once again, which will result in her family facing humiliation. As a member of the nobility, Amelia experiences considerable pressure. Right when Amelia is on the verge of being overwhelmed by her psychological struggles, Ray once again becomes the one who saves her. The Iceblade sorcerer promises to stay by her side to help her find meaning in life against all odds. Amelia is so touched that she throws herself into Ray's arms and cries loudly. For the first time, she can remove her disguise of being tough. As the new day begins, Amelia and Ariane are about to have a showdown. While Elisa in the stands is a little jealous after knowing that Ray was with Amelia last night. She likes Ray very much, and she is afraid that Ray and Amelia have already had an intimate interaction last night. Actually, Ray can't pay any attention to love affairs now. Just now, he was informed by Rex that 8 students have gone missing. Utilizing his remarkable reconnaissance skills, Ray successfully locates the abducted students, including his acquaintance Clarice. As he holds her and attempts to leave the scene, they are surrounded by several groups of kidnappers. Leaving no choices, Ray instantly releases his Chronos lock to freeze all these people and then entrusts other unconscious students to Rex. At this moment, the battle between Amelia and Ariane has reached its climax. The two genius sorcerers have released their full strength. During one fierce fight after another, Ariane gradually gains the upper hand and is getting closer and closer to victory. That's when Ray finally shows up, which gives Amelia great encouragement, and the girl's potential explodes. Ariane is getting vigilant when she sees Amelia's aura become very powerful, as if she had completely changed into another person. The situation is reversed. Amelia fends off all of Ariane's attacks, standing until the end in a fierce magic onslaught. In the end, Amelia not only wins the duel but also overcomes her psychological problems and reconciles with Ariane. That brings the end of the two girls' competition. What follows next is the final of the tournament, where the senior students Rebecca and Lucas will fight each other. Rebecca is famous for being last year's champion. However, Lucas beats her with just one hit. The audience erupts in cheers after a brief silence. As Lucas leaves, he volunteers to provoke Ray. Like Ray, Lucas's mentor is also a grand sorcerer. Lucas is eager for Ray to overcome his magic overexertion, as he plans to defeat Ray in the next year's tournament and demonstrate that the sorcerer sect he belongs to is the strongest among all the grand sorcerer sects. But for Ray, next year is still far away. He has a lot of fun with his classmates during the celebration, even wearing a maid costume to participate in some activities. Ray's chest attracts a lot of attention, and Rebecca's sister Maria, who is also here, is directly stimulated by Ray's coquettish appearance to the point of nosebleeds. When Rebecca is strolling around with Ray, she seems to be a little bit down. Recently, she is forced by her father to be engaged to a man named Evan, who is very eccentric. But to not worry her friends, Rebecca doesn't tell anyone about her suspicions. On the last day of the celebration, Evan secretly kidnaps Rebecca. The origin of this man seems to be complicated, as he can even arrange a lot of monsters to block the pursuers. Fortunately, Ray, Abby, and Lydia have sensed Evan's abnormality and immediately notice Rebecca's missing. As his friends drag the monsters, Ray is responsible for rescuing Rebecca. Before he arrives, two Evan surprisingly appear. It turns out that Evan, who kidnapped Rebecca, is disguised by a woman named Liselot, the imaginary sorcerer belonging to the Righteous Party. She teleports the real Evan to another dimension to temporarily seal him as soon as she appears. Subsequently, Liselot creates a huge enchantment to trap Peridorogo, the man following Evan. She informs Ray that a mysterious magic power on Rebecca will perpetually place her in danger. The only solution is to make her magic run out of control and then seal it. Having experienced similar situations before, Ray will be responsible for the sealing work. It dawns on Ray that the accidents of the day were prearranged by Liselot, and this mysterious woman is not an evildoer. Just then, Paradorogo shatters the enchantment. As Lieselot has to fight with Evan in the other dimension, she asks Ray to deal with the man. In the dimension, Evan realizes that he is no match for Lieselot, so he decisively uses forbidden spells to become a monster. It seems he belongs to the same organization as Miss Grey. Fortunately, Lieselot is far stronger than Evan, and she defeats him with just one move. When Evan desperately calls Lieselot the strongest sorcerer, she corrects him. The strongest title only belongs to the Iceblade sorcerer Ray. Lieselot is right. Elsewhere, Ray has lifted his seal and defeated Paradorogo. It seems he has never lost since his debut, except for one defeat in his memory. At this time, Rebecca's magic power begins to spiral out of control, and Ray gives her a warm kiss, successfully sealing the out-of-control power. I think Ray's mouth is even stronger than an ice blade. After the incident, Rebecca also becomes a member of Ray's harem. Every evening, a group of girls will gather outside the dormitory, willing to have a baby with Ray. More surprisingly, at the end of the anime, even Ariane from another academy comes to Ray, inviting him to have a date. Here brings the first season of this anime. Like most Japanese animes, there are lots of harem plots in this anime. At first, it is a story of how the powerful protagonist disguises himself as a weak and defeats the strong enemy. But later, Ray is given a group of wives. Almost every female character will be unconsciously attracted to him, from human peers to elves, and even teachers and seniors who are much older than Ray are willing to fall in love with him. I guess there will be more girls waiting for Ray in the next season. If you are still single, please subscribe to my channel. Let's travel to Ray's world to open a harem.